Yeah, I was just starting with a little introduction about me. I'm Meryl. I work at the school and I trained as a sommelier myself. And I was in a previous life, I was a lawyer, and I decided to walk away from the legal field entirely. And I went on a personal sabbatical and was in this personal journey of trying to get back into my body was the phrase that kind of kept coming back to me. And I was researching training schools to become a coach and came across the Somatic school, and it just really full body resonated with me. It was a full body, yes, this is right. And then I got into the welcome session for my cohort, and there was Paul. And to have an out and proud gay man at the front of the room was just this full body welcome. You're here, you're in the right place for me. And it was, yeah, the rest is history from there. It was just an incredible experience and journey, and really uh, fully equipped me to be a confident coach, but also yeah, it was a transformational personal journey as well. So but we're gonna move into a conversation with Paul now. So you've heard Paul's voice already, but this is Paul Taylor Pitt, a course trainer, and will be the trainer on this LGBT intake. And, yeah, Paul, what would you like people to know about you?
I feel like you've already said my story in some
Yeah.
ways, because my story is really similar in many respects, in that I came to the school as a student, I trained, and now I work with the school. And it reminds me, and this is going to show my age, was it Victor Khayyam in the 80s and 90s? And this everyone who's a lot younger is just going, I don't know who you're talking about. Um, he used to do an advert because he said, I loved Remington razors so much I bought the company. And while that's not what I've done with the Somatic School, I didn't buy the company. I loved the training I did so much that when I had the opportunity to come and be a trainer with the school, I was just like, this is a dream come true. Uh, so before that, I've been a coach for a long time, but in a very kind of traditional way, in a very corporate way, and had been trained in-house as a coach in my organization, and was looking for something that was different, that would build on that, and that would consolidate it in lots of different ways. So I was very lucky to come to, it was actually the first virtual somatic school training back in lockdown in 2020. And so I completed my qualification. I went back to my job, and I just remember thinking, something's missing now. Why can't it be like that all the time? And uh, I guess in a similar way, I kind of went, I think I need a career change. And so I've now been self-employed for actually it's 3 years at the end of this month. And I run a consulting practice where I offer organizational development and mentoring and facilitation and a lot of coaching, which I do for individuals, for people who just want to unstick themselves in some way. I also do it in businesses, from working with a music company at the moment. I've worked with a global power company, with clinicians and medics in the health service. So, yeah, I think coaching kind of runs through me like with a stick of rock. What else can I say?
Wonderful.
I live in London with Dan, who I feel like Dan is like an extra member of the group. I feel like every time we do a group, I'm going, well, Dan said this. But yeah, Dan is really important to me. We've been together for 25 years this year, and I feel like I'm always bringing in stories of, when I go home and he says, "Are you doing that coaching thing on me?" So yeah, that's me. Really excited to be here and to be doing some of this work together.
I got so I've drunk the Kool-Aid so much in somatics and the somatic school that I even it influenced my partner to join the school. So my partner Charlotte is actually training as a Somanaut as well now. So we're a we're a fully Somanaut household over here.
Or I was a pet cohort, and then your dog can train.
Yeah, pets come up a lot in this training. Yeah.
No, and
Um,
I feel like I've now let some people down because there were people in various cohorts that I've trained, and every time we were on camera, their cat would wander in or their dog would wander. And I did say to them, if they come to every module, they get a certificate. And I'm not sure we ever saw that through. But yeah, that's what I love about this space, and particularly virtually, is that it's like everything just gets welcomed into the space. If your cat walks across the keyboard or a delivery person arrives or the kids come running in, it's like it's all fine.
yeah, all of you is welcome here. Mm, mm, mm. My cat's already muted my laptop for me, Steffi says. Yeah, he's
So,
joining, he's joining.
I
There we
mean,
go.
you mentioned pets. We have to have an introduction. Like, if the cat's around, please do the kind of, circle of life, like, hold them up, because I just get obsessed with meeting people's pets.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that segues nicely onto my next question for you, Paul. But question for us, really. Why this LGBTQ plus intake now? And yeah, we were talking about this, and I remember something you said that, if not now, when? If not us, who? And yeah, I'd love for you to speak more on that.
I mean, just look around. I feel like what's going on in the world. Um, I'm 51 and grew up in a time when, well, I didn't think I'd live past 30, to be honest, because, just at the time I came out was the beginning of the AIDS crisis. And uh, when I came out, they just introduced Section 28 in this country. So, homosexuality couldn't be talked about, it was banned from schools. And so I kind of grew up in a climate of feeling like, oh, this is just how it's going to be for me forever. And then I feel like I've seen huge change in my lifetime. And this being able to be, married and be open about who I am and thrive, not just to survive, but to thrive, for me has felt like the biggest gift. And then I think over the last few years, I've just seen things go backwards so quickly. And I think particularly this year, I think particularly with the political climate, I felt quite helpless, quite powerless to do something about that. And this was almost a bit of a plea, which I have to say I didn't have to plead very hard to the school to say, wouldn't it be nice if we offered a space for people to come together to do professional training, but just for us? Because no, those spaces don't exist anywhere else in this, in this kind of training space. So I feel like there's something in the world that we need to respond to, we as a school and we as a community of LGBTQ folk, to make it better for other LGBTQ folk or anyone else. I'm I I I coach straight people as well. Um, but there's something about offering a space to LGBTQ coaches who might then use that with other LGBTQ clients that is not just about being a coach, but it's about being able to be yourself as a coach, to completely show up as yourself in a way that the client can then have permission to show up as themselves. So I feel like there's, I remember like years ago, one of my first jobs, I worked in a residential home for people with what at the time was called AIDS dementia, but it was HIV related brain impairments back in 1995. And one of my colleagues had just moved over from San Francisco. And he said, the thing I miss most about living in the UK is I don't have a gay doctor anymore. And he said, I used to be able to go to my GP and talk about everything. And now I feel like I don't have access to that. And I remember going, oh, you've got a gay doctor. That's so cool. And so there's something for me about just being able to just take off that layer of protection that I put on myself when I'm in heteronormative spaces and just be like, oh, I don't have to explain anything. I don't have to take off that. I don't have to put on a layer of protection. So for me, I feel like we're so well placed as a school in terms of our philosophy, our values, our methods, our content, to be able to do something which hopefully just turns up the love in the world even slightly.
Mm. Turns up the love in the world. Mm. Yeah, beautifully put. And I actually only learned this term the other day, but it's called interpretative labor. And so yeah, anyone part of a minority group, when they're training or learning in a space that wasn't designed for them, they're having to do this kind of extra layer of interpretation and juggling and fitting. And this is our chance to create an intake where that layer isn't necessary for the participants.
To do professional training for me was always quite nerve-wracking anyway, you know, coming into a space where I felt like I had to learn something, I had to do something. And so just having one less thing to think about just felt, I don't know, I notice it when I'm in queer spaces, when I'm with other LGBTQ folk, there's something that I'm just able to I don't know, let go of and not have a second conversation going on in my head. So I think that interpretive labor sounds very familiar.
Mm, mm, yeah. And yeah, what do we hope for this intake? What do we hope will happen?
I mean, I would love to hear from people who've been through the course as well, if they fancied saying what happened for them. I guess what I would love to have happen is that people, you know, train as a coach, qualify as a coach, use coaching. You know, this is very practical. This is a really, um, it's practical, it's vocational, it's all of those things that you can then go and do something with it. In terms of the process itself, I hope that we can also share some of our own lived experience, our own wisdom, and that all of it is welcome, all of it is valuable. Like it doesn't have to be something that we leave behind. I feel like there's something, and I hope this isn't overblowing it, but there's something a bit kind of pioneering about it. Like this would be the first ever LGBTQ cohort for the school, and the school itself is the first, you know, the world's first like embodied coach training where you can get diploma and you can get accreditation with us, you know. So I feel like we'd be a first within a first, which feels really exciting. So in a way, I feel like there's a pioneering kind of spirit to it, and certainly that's been my experience of life, I guess, is often being the first of something, and how nice it is to be the first of something when you're with other people who are also in that space. So there's something about making a mark, like doing good work and bringing more of this into the world and just enjoying it, like being in a space where you can really just enjoy it. I don't know if that resonates for Rich and Steffi in terms of your experience of going through the course. I mean, you know, I'm putting you on the spot here because you haven't kind of signed up to say anything, but just if anything is there that feels resonant.
Um, yeah, I'm happy to share actually. What's interesting is that, but this tends to be an experience I have quite frequently in my life where if I don't, so I'm very openly out. I'm with a woman. I've dated men, women. I'm very comfortable sharing this. All my loved ones know this. But for some strange reason, and it's something I'm trying to explore internally and with friends of mine, um, with particularly with friends of mine who aren't part of the, well, they're allies, but I've explored why I struggle sometimes to with people I don't know. If I've not mentioned it immediately, then the more I delay, the more I struggle, and then suddenly I'm like, because my partner and I will avoid anything that will indicate anything of the sort. And I've realized that this is a pattern in my life. And it happened to me in the cohort, actually. Now we are all very close. So I had a very beautiful experience with my cohort. I went up to London in January. I met up with them. We're so lucky. And I was going at the time, I was going through quite a turbulent breakup. I was struggling a lot. I had just ended the relationship like a month before I started. And the longer I was mentioning my breakup, and yet I wouldn't mention it's a woman. And do you know, it makes me feel like there's a part of me, I'm very big on authenticity. It's a very big part of how I want to walk through the world, kind of. And it's a real blocker for me. So this would have been really different, because what happened is someone joined halfway through and she was with a woman, and she mentioned this immediately, and suddenly I'm like, damn it, I wish she was there immediately. So it would have actually been really, really different. In fact, we had a virtual tea recently, three of us from the cohort. And I actually mentioned, I'm like, guys, I think I need to mention something that I haven't mentioned. And I told them, and they're like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'm like, yeah, I know. But somehow it felt like this big thing, and I finished months ago, you know? So yeah, it would have, funnily enough, it would have been different, just because, but that's why I mentioned the patterns in my life, because I'm well aware that this is actually, it's not specific to the course per se, but more my internal process with these things.
And one of the things, and we'll talk about it in a bit more detail, but one of the things that within our learning structure is that we have myself as the trainer, and then we have someone called a companion who joins us on each of the weekend modules. And the companion is there, who is someone who's been through the training. They're there to offer some support to the group and to practice demonstrations and to maybe be in breakout spaces. And so we're kind of, fingers crossed, hoping that maybe someone might be interested in being a companion who's been through the course. So, that experience might still be available to you, Steffi, in terms of being able to be part of that, and still would be amazing.
Yeah.
How about you, Rich? Again, don't mean to put you on the spot, but obviously I am.
Firstly, I just want to echo and honor Steffi's experience there of someone, I think, I don't know if I read it or someone said it to me, that you don't just come out once in your life. And I can really relate to those times where, I get stuck in my throat and I don't know why in it, But whilst I was thinking about this, I was thinking how wonderful it was, Paul, that you were the educator on the course, and perhaps that I might have taken that for granted, that I never felt a sense that I couldn't be myself as a gay man. But I wonder what it would have been, if it was with another cohort, notwithstanding the fact that I actually think that the way in which the school really encourages us to just bring all of ourselves is universal, no matter. But what I was really thinking about was how to train to be a body-oriented coach is to really go into a journey of one's own relationship to one's own body, and how there's an extra layer perhaps that I carry with me as a gay man, or a wound of having gone through many, many years of just not trusting something that I know to be true. And so much of the work that we're doing, or I'm now doing with the people that I'm working with, and what's happened with me, is there's a knowledge or a wisdom or an intelligence inside of you, and we're creating a space for it to, well, come out, for want of a better description. And that's a very specific thing for me as a gay man, and I'm sure that for people all across the spectrum share some kind of thing like that. And to be able to actually talk about that, and to know there's a bit of extra rough skin that might need to be worked on, or that we can share that and have that conversation, would have been really wonderful. And that I don't think that I had known how much that actually really impacts me, and the journey that I'm still going through on that. And it would be lovely to have that common language of a memory, of a coming out process, of a legal or social construct that actually did the opposite of what we're doing in body-oriented coaching. Said, no, you can't, don't believe it, you're not allowed. And so, yeah, that's why, having thought about it, this cohort offers us a really wonderful opportunity at a very deeply human level, to further understand ourselves and our experience, and to be able to help others in that really unique way. So, yeah.
And thank you. And I think it's lovely in a way that you were able to take it for granted in that space and go, oh, this is just how it is. Because for me, that's how it should be. And I was chatting to someone I didn't know really well, a professional person who I was doing some lunch thing with. And I was saying, you know, for me and my generation, that a lot of the role models that I would have had were just wiped out and they just weren't there, or the people who came before them couldn't come out because it would have been illegal. And he went, oh, I've never had to think about that. And I was like, yeah, I know. I think about it a lot, and how, in a way, how nice it would be not to have to think about that. But the fact that sometimes we still have to, you know, like Steffi, you were saying, you still have to kind of go, oh, do I come out here? And you're constantly coming out. It's like, actually, this just takes away some of that, I think. But yeah, there is something, and maybe this isn't you know, part of the official thing, but there's something for me about a bit of transgression without consequence. To be able to run a cohort like this and celebrate it in a time when so many of those other opportunities for people are being shut down. You know, to me, it's like we can just do this. Would it be helpful, Meryl, for me just to talk a bit about the actual thing itself? Like, what is this thing that we keep talking about? Would that be okay in terms of our time?
Yeah, yes, please.
In terms of what it is that we're here to offer, I guess, you know, people come to the Somatic School like I did for lots of different reasons. I'd been coaching, but wanted to get something more embodied. Sometimes people come who are already doing some kind of embodied practice, maybe yoga teachers or Feldenkrais practitioners, who then want to bring in some coaching to their practice. And some people come with no experience of either. They're just, you know, they just want to do some work with people. Maybe they want to be a life coach or an executive coach, or just offer it to themselves or their family. So there's a whole broad kind of range of people who come to the school, and I haven't counted how many cohorts I've trained. I keep thinking I should, but I've been so privileged, I guess, to see, you know, possibly hundreds of people through this process. And what attracted me to this, I guess, is that it is professional coaching. You know, at the heart of our work is coaching. And so at the end of it, there is a diploma in body-oriented coaching. So for anyone who is looking for the piece of paper that says, oh, I did this, you know, that you get that at the end of the completion of it. And as Matthew's here, we are very proud to be, you know, the first coaching school in the world to have ICF accreditation at level 2. So, you know, you then do have the opportunity to be supported to that place of getting the little badge as well that says I'm an ICF coach, which, you know, globally has a lot of kudos. I think we're seeing a shift really away from just traditional coaching to much more holistic coaching, much more humanistic coaching. And yet most of the traditional coaching methods that you can train in kind of just deal with everything here. It's just very conceptual, very intellectual. We believe that there's more to us than just here, that our whole bodies contain wisdom, and that our bodies are always in communication with ourselves, but we may have stopped listening. We talk about at the school the body mind, you know, that we are this unified whole. So we never ignore the conceptual, we never ignore the thinking, because that's really powerful. What this does is it opens up space to also include everything else that might be there. So we really believe that body-oriented coaching as a practice should be kind of experimental. You know, it's something to play with. And as a embodied experience, it's very grounded in the moment. It's very immediate. So it's also very experiential, because in the moment you go, oh, what's this? What's this thing that's happening right now? Which can be incredibly empowering, because people can, in a moment, have an insight into something. Now, I've had that in traditional coaching. Sometimes it's taken a bit longer. And, you know, I'm a person who just gets in my head a lot. and I sometimes just can't think my way through things. So what I love about this is it's a very organic process, it's very emergent. It brings a lot of humanity to change, that actually sometimes we come in with a question that's not even the question, and something else might come. So I think for me, my experience of training through the school and being a trainer with the school is that we really pay quality attention to both coaching and somatics and merge the two into this place where you can think and experience and draw on all of that. I didn't even realize that that's what I needed, I guess. And it was in lockdown. It was in the first lockdown in the pandemic in 2020, and we couldn't go to the gym, and some of the trainers had put themselves online, and I thought, oh, I'll do that because I was looking for stuff to do that wasn't work. And so I did this course, this like online thing called Animal Flow, which I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's a bit like very manly yoga, which was not me at all, but it was like, it's like yoga where you're in beast position and alligator, it's very like, oh. And I remember this moment where the instructor was trying to get us all to like flip ourselves almost like from upside down to this position. And I was getting really frustrated because I'm not very flexible and I couldn't do it. And I kept saying to him, Tommaso, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he said, he's Italian. He was like, it's okay. Just trust your body. And I remember at that moment, like, in films where they have like a flashback, I remember this moment where I kind of like the world paused and I went, I don't trust my body. And it took me right back to school, to being in the gym class, in the changing rooms, seeing that first, chest hair emerging and just going, I can't deal with this. My body's going to give me away. My body's going to like be a double agent. And almost like just going, okay, well, from the neck down, we don't need you anymore. We're just going to stay up here from now on because that's where it's going to be safe. And all of this happened in that moment where I kind of went, oh, I don't trust my body. So my curiosity about that was, I guess, how do I trust my body? And also, what else am I missing? And that's what attracted me into, the process of somatic coaching and then training with the somatic school and then being a trainer for it. So for me, it brings all of that in. It brings the memory and the thinking and the analysis and the interpretation, and it brings in that felt sense, that really lived, embodied experience. I wonder if, because, again, talking about it's all very up here. I wonder if I might invite you to do a little experiment with me, if you fancy it. Just like there's no pressure to do this. This is all an invitation. But if you just wanted to, it will take us like 30 seconds. This is one of the tools that we train in the school, called a verbal experiment. And this comes from a practice called Hakomi. So the school curriculum is based on lots of different practices that we've woven together into this very cohesive approach. And a verbal experiment is something that you might offer to a client if they're kind of caught in a place where they maybe have a limiting belief, or there's something happening that's coming up in the space that's just getting in the way. And a verbal experiment is where I, as a coach, would offer the client, like, I've got an idea for a bit of an experiment. Should we give it a try? And what it involves is the client being invited to kind of just like settle themselves. So like if you need to be a bit more comfy, just like see what you might do just to do less in this moment, just to get yourself really comfy if you fancy taking part. And the way a verbal experiment works is I would ask the client to just check in with themselves and just notice what's going on, like everywhere. And if they feel okay, they might close their eyes, just because sometimes that can give them more access to stuff, but they don't have to. They can keep their eyes open. And the way a verbal experiment works is I would say, I'm just going to say a sentence. And I just invite you to notice what happens when you hear me say that sentence, particularly at the level of sensation. So do you fancy giving it a try? Just to see, and maybe nothing happens, and that's totally fine. If nothing happens, that's fine. But if you fancy doing it, maybe just get yourself comfy. You could close your eyes if you want to, or keep them open if you want to. And just notice what happens in your body when you hear me say, you can be yourself here. You can be yourself here. You can be yourself here. And you feel ready, just coming back. Maybe opening and closing your eyes, just coming back in. And just if there's anything to share, you don't have to, but just if there was anything or nothing, it might be nothing happened, but what was your experience of that little experiment?
I'm always in awe, and I'm like, even with a client, sometimes it just takes those few seconds. Like, I know it cognitively, but every time it's sort of like, wow, just a few seconds, and it changed everything about my being. Yeah. Thank you for that.
In a way, that's the purpose of a verbal experiment like that, is it opens something that you can then inquire into. And so, if this was a coach-client situation, as a coach, I'd then be going, so maybe a question that is in the space now is, who am I? And then it gives you the chance to work with that. So thank you for sharing that, because that's so powerful. It also reminds me of when I was doing my training, and I had this moment where I realized, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. It's the world that's wrong, which sounds a bit egotistical. But there was something in the embodied experience where I was like, oh, I've always been okay. It's just other people have tried to tell me I'm not. And sometimes I believed them. And so there are these moments through these practices and the experience of, being with a client to just go, oh, I didn't know that. Or I maybe knew it, but I'd never felt it, never experienced it. So that's, I guess, just a very tiny experience of one of the techniques that we cover. And there are lots of things that we cover, but it's all held very lightly. So, Meryl, I wonder in the time that we've got, if you could just give us a bit of what is this? What does the course look like? What's it like?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, thank you everyone for your shares. I'm having a kind of like meta experience right now of already enjoying the power of what we are about to build actually in this room right now. So yeah, huge resonance from everything everyone is saying already. So thank you. So I'm just going to share my screen. And yeah, I'm just going to take you through the sort of headline main elements of the training itself so that you get a bit of a flavor of it. But we have a very useful course guide, and we also run an introductory session which takes you through a more comprehensive view of the whole training program and an experience as well. So I can send you, I'll be sharing a link for you to join that if you are interested in enrolling. So here's a snapshot of what's in store for you. So it's a 6-month course for the formal training part. It's spread over 6 modules, 1 per month, 1 weekend a month, and that accumulates 171.5 hours, which allows you to apply to the ICF for your level 2 onward journey, either ACC level or PCC level. And this is what else it includes. So there is business and nervous system regulation support throughout the course. You have lifetime access to resources and this wonderful community and growing LGBTQ plus wonderful community. As Paul's mentioned, you'll be part of a pioneering intake. So 17 lucky new Somanauts will be part of our first LGBTQ plus intake, and you will have Paul as your trainer and also companions who are part of that community. So your training experience is fully experiential. It is a embodied learning journey from start to finish. More than 50% of the course is actually in experience. You'll be on the receiving end of a huge amount of body-oriented coaching yourselves. It's a professional skills training, but it's structured in a way so that you'll learn how to apply those body-oriented skills when you're working with people. It's all online, and we actually find that this tending to your body throughout this deep embodied learning experience actually allows people to have a safer and richer experience of that learning. You can pop to the fridge when you need to, you can lie down when you need to. Yeah, we run intakes at a maximum of 17 participants because we want it to stay a very intimate place so that everybody's voices are heard. And it's a very scalable skill set, so you can work one-to-one with people, but you also can bring these skills to groups as well. So this is an overview of the modules. Again, the course guide, which I'll share, has much more information on what you'll cover in each module. So does the website, and this introductory webinar goes through each one by one, but just as a snapshot, that's what you'll be doing over the 6 months. A little bit more on the ICF. Yeah, we were the first Somatic coach training to be awarded the level 2 accreditation, so we're very proud of that. And we also got an honourable mention for the distinguished coaching education provider in the last Impact Awards by the ICF. So and as part of the course, all of your ICF mentoring is included. So if you were to go and get this training outside of the school, it comes to around £2,000 to get your mentoring and then submit your performance evaluation. So completing this just means that you've got everything that you need when you're finished the training with us to go on to the ICF and get PCC or your ACC. So just to cover who this is for, you might already be a professional coach and you're looking to bring the body into your skill set in a safe way. You might want to become a body-oriented coach. Maybe you're not a coach already and you want to set up a business as a coach. You also might be a therapist or a counsellor who wants to grow your skill set and offer a new service to working with your clients in a coaching capacity. I'll just go through now a few of the sort of additional extras. So we've talked about the sort of main formal modules of the course, but we also have something called Regulation Station, and this is actually really for you as a coach to stay as a nervous system regulated coach. We say at the school that your presence is more important than your intervention. So this really is in support of you being that well-resourced, being in that well-resourced place to serve your clients. These are all recorded as well, so you can watch the replays later. And then we also have lots of other additional elements to the ecosystem. We have a webinar series, the titles are there, so that those are covered. We also have a business series. We have monthly practicums, which is where you go and meet fellow Somanauts, fellow students to practice your skills, and also, of course, the Somanaut community, which you can lean on. So I'd just like to pause there, and I'm wondering, for those who haven't yet taken the course, yeah, how this is resonating with you, and if you would be feeling called to apply for this course, maybe you can just put into the chat where you're at.
Making me want to do it again.
You'll be in the room, but not doing the learning. Wonderful. Just let you yeah, type in the chat there, and whilst you're doing so, just bring this up on screen. So you've got the intake dates there. So we'll be kicking off on the 11th of July. So yeah, a few months to see if those dates work for you, and you'll be completely finished the formal part of the training by November. So you would be in a position to call yourself a body-oriented coach by the end of this year. The investment is set out for you here, which is £6,000 excluding VAT and £7,200 including VAT. I'm sure as many of you have probably already done some research into coaching courses with the level 2 ICF accreditation. We're just below average of a training inclusive of the mentoring aspect. And of course, as Paul has already said, you know, we like to say that we're true to coaching and true to somatics. So you're very much getting both of those elements combined into that course fee.
I'm just, given that we've only got 5 minutes or so left, I'm just wondering if there are kind of burning questions from people that you think, oh, if I don't ask this now, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I wish I'd said it. You know, just unmute yourself or pop something in the chat, because I don't want you to leave feeling like there's something left unattended to. Yeah, so they happen like this. So they happen on Zoom, and this cohort will be UK time based. So it starts at 9:30 and finishes at 5:30 both days. But we've done a lot of these, so I think we are, as a school, a good role model of how to work well in a virtual space. So we have we pay a lot of attention to not just transmitting, not just beaming at you, that there's space for practice. We have a 2-hour lunch break on both of the days so that you get the chance to be away from the screen. So those sessions are live both of those days. The other sessions, things like the integration calls, the practicums, the webinars, they're a mixture of live, in person, and recordings that you can catch up on. So the training itself, the weekend modules are always like this, and we think that we've got a good model of giving people kind of the space to be themselves in a virtual space, but also that it doesn't feel taxing or draining being on screen for a couple of days. Thanks, Matthew. Meryl, any closing words from you as we bring this to an end?
Yeah, I just wanted to share possible next steps for anybody on the call. So if you feel like you are ready to have a conversation with a course consultant, either to enroll or discuss next steps, yeah, I encourage you to just scan the QR code on the left, and that will take you to a Calendly booking page. If you still feel like you want to learn more, then yeah, we have this free experiential introductory webinar that runs for a few weeks, and so you can scan the second QR code to find out more. There's also lots more resources on the website. I've just shared the course guide in the chat, and yeah, please just be in touch and let's continue this dialogue.
One of the things that I've really noticed and valued and appreciated, certainly from just sharing this on LinkedIn and other social media, is just that people have been really behind it, which has been so lovely. There's been a real feeling of, you know, people from, like, allies from outside the community saying, oh, I'm really glad this is happening. And so, you know, if this is for you, it would be lovely to have you as part of the course. If this is not for you, then please still tell people about it, because I would love this to happen. And we need it. We need a certain number of people for it to be able to happen. So your advocacy would be amazing on this as well. And if you want to have any conversations with Meryl or myself, we're both available for that as well. I'm going to put my email in as well as Meryl. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Meryl, take us out. How would you like it to end today?
This has just been absolutely beautiful to be in a space with you all, and yeah, I just hope we can continue dialoguing and in communication with you all, whether inside of the Somatic School or outside. Please be in touch, and yeah, wish you well and have an easeful rest of your day and evening ahead.
Thank you for coming, everyone. Hopefully see you in July.